Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Health and Wellness. In this program, we're going to talk about the pH miracle, the ABC, abbreviation for acid, blood, and Candida, that affects us from infancy all through our life. Now, a little scenario on the Candida, how it affects our blood throughout our life. It starts from birth. And as we all know, when we're born, we are affected by our environment. And babies have to deal with all the toxins in the air and the pollutants in our environment. And so a lot of times what happens is babies get fevers, and they have to be treated pretty much, and a lot of babies have to stay in the hospital until they get better because they either are running temperatures too high, and a lot of times when mothers take their babies home, within a short time they have to keep bringing the baby in because it has a high temperature. And that is how Candida affects us even at that age. And it can be from earaches, thrush, it can be from infections, it can be tonsillitis, it can also be rash, diaper rash, diarrhea, and these are just a few of the things that happens with children. As the child becomes older, what happens is they deal with learning disabilities, let's say, or ADD or ADHD. They become irrational. They are aggressive. They have learning issues. They are, and they don't eat properly. And so those are just a few of the things. They end up having asthma, allergies, and acne, just to name a few. And the older the person, the older the child gets, now it's more serious, more adult conditions. And so this is what Candida bacteria does in our system. I had all these things written down, and anyway, short of the story is that I left them all at work, and so here we are, and we're pretty much going by memory completely. So if you can bear with me, I'd really appreciate that. Most people say, how is it that I've gotten so acidic? And you know, you can take a person that's really healthy, has been a runner, has eaten correctly, and has done everything good. But then all of a sudden they go to college and they start drinking, they start not going to bed early, engaging in a lot of different activities, and that brings that person that was healthy to begin with at a not so great point at that time. So the idea is that we are all born with Candida bacteria, fungus. However, as we get older and the choices that we make through our life is what brings us to that place where we become, the Candida overgrows. And the overgrowth can happen, and how we can tell at to what level it is by the condition of our skin, let's say, or maybe the acne, maybe eczema, maybe psoriasis, maybe fungal nail, and those are just a few. And then a lot of times and further, it creates us not to be able to sleep, not to be able to get up in the morning, become depressed, and then have issues with hair loss and gaining weight. So these are all things that, and then having, like, for the girls, having PMS issues, and just to name a few. And so the reason why a person gets to a level where they start to have a lot of domino effects is, let's say that a person does everything correctly, but all of a sudden there was trauma, there was something that happened in that person's life that put them in a very traumatized state. That person now has an acid occurrences happening, and the choices of what they end up consuming on a day-to-day basis governs as to what continues to happen. So if a person becomes not being able to sleep because of whatever happened in their life, be it an accident, now they went in the hospital, they got medication, they got home, they can't sleep, the pain levels are high. So the idea is now that body's in a trauma state, and it's dealing with all these foreign chemicals from medication. So now that person, once well, now is at a state where more and more of the Candida starts to manifest. The more medication, the more antibiotics they take, the more and more the Candida starts to grow. Now you get another person that starts to have eating very poorly throughout their life. The older that person gets, the more and more Candida starts to happen, manifest, get thicker, and they end up with asthma, allergies, respiratory issues, intolerances to different food, thickening with a lot of mucus, and affecting their stomach. For instance, this is a scenario. This person ended up doing a lot of cleanses, thinking that the more cleansing, the better, and created an imbalance. More and more they did the cleansing, thinking that that was a better state of being, which in a way it is. However, the more progressive it keeps going, where you keep doing the cleansing, the more imbalances you end up putting your body in. So within time, what happens, the more repeated, this cleansing process of dieting is unsustainable. You can't keep doing the cleanses ongoing, because the more you do this, the more in balance your body will be, and due to that, the bad bacteria will start to grow at a faster rate, completely, totally taking over your body. And so what happens is, now you take sleep aid to sleep, but it doesn't do anything. You will eat better, but guess what? You end up throwing up, because guess what? The amount of acid in your system is so much now that whatever you consume, it actually goes right, the acid takes it, and you don't get too much of anything. And so you're on a constant acid level. The more medication you take, the more sleep aid you take, it won't do anything. And you will completely continue to take more sleep aids. You'll take more depression medication. You will do more and more of the meds, increasing the dose, increasing the amounts that you take, and having no results. Only to go back to the doctor for them to give you another dose of something else, because whatever you're on isn't doing anything. It isn't the medication that's the problem. It's actually that your body is in an imbalanced state, and until you end up balancing your system with the good cultures. And how do we do this? when, how do we do this? Our diet, the way when you think of detoxifying, we tend to go more by cleaning our diet, consuming all on a day-to-day basis the right things that are going to, the right foods, the raw foods. It doesn't have to be that all your, on a day-to-day basis, that you have to be so rigid. However, you need to do more greens to alkalize, separate the sugar from the greens. See what your body does when you give it sugar. See how your body grows when you end up giving it sugar first thing in the morning. And when you start listening and watching what your body does with certain things, you realize that that particular something of whatever food, it's not right for that time of day. And so the idea is that cleansing, as we know it, it is a good start to do a program. However, when you do a cleanse, for most of us, what happens is you do a cleanse, and then within 3 to 5 days, you're done with the cleanse. And only to put yourself back into the very same diet that you had before you started. So you haven't changed anything. You just cleansed, and now you went back to eating the normal way that you've been. So now again, you start again and say, well, I got to do a cleanse again because I want to start again. Again, you throw the body off again. Now you are minus of all the good cultures that you had growing. Now you did it again, and you did it again. And then the medication that you're on is minusing that as well. That is the reason why we get to that level. Now, on the ABC, the A meaning acid. Now, the acid is the, it's the fluid, it's the thickness of bacteria that's growing, but it's kind of like it's like dampy cold. It's the liquid that is sour, and that's acid, and that is the condition, or that's the intestinal tract and your stomach that's housing all this. And of course, the longer you have that, the more and more you have less oxygen in your system. So a lot of times when we talk about why different things develop, is because you start by having an acid condition. And a lot of times it's felt like you have acid reflux, or you ate and things didn't sit good. But then you can't go, so you figure that you have to do something in order to be able to go, and that is maybe a laxative. Again, the wrong way to do it. But you don't know any other way. And so you end up doing that. Now what happens is, the longer you do this, and the more and more you do this, it gets into the blood. Now fungus and yeast starts to grow at a very rapid state. When it surrounds all the organs and all the tissues, your body does everything possible in order to create more of an alkaline state. So what it does is it draws the calcium from the bones. And the more it does that, it continues to do that only to keep itself balanced, because it's got to keep its pH at a 7.75. And so what happens is, the more and more it draws from the calcium from your bones, you end up, down the road, you end up with maybe arthritis, joint pain, and so medication for that. And you might end up with foot, knee pain, back pain, shoulder, arm, hands. Now, the longer you go, it actually affects the blood. And once it starts affecting the blood, then the immune system starts to affect the immune system. Now you catch every cold and you get sick quickly, more often. Your immune system gets kicked also. And when the longer you go, the more toxins from the fungus and the yeast and the mold, now what happens is the lymphatics kicks in, and now this is when things get really bad, because the toxins that are released from the yeast and fungus and mold, that the lymphatic now has to work extra hard. And the more it does that, the more it actually affects your liver, your pancreas, and all these organs that have to work. And it even pulls the acid also, and the yeast and the mold also makes your blood, it uses that sugar from our liver, from our blood. And so now we have low blood sugar. And then it works on the pancreas. And that's where these conditions start to surface. So the other thing is that lymphatically, when our body becomes that acidic, when mold and yeast and acid and fungus sets in, the microorganisms, the toxins that are released from that, it's polluting. It is actually making us sicker every single day. And so what happens is, now what we do is, when we eat certain things, when we start to detoxify, we get violently sick. And once we do that, we end up with a kidney infection, or we have vaginal infections, or we have impotency, or we have infertility, or we have PMS, or we have prostatitis, or any of these conditions, asthma, all skin disorders, sleep disorders is a big one. And the idea is that we are actually taking medication for a condition that isn't supposed to be. It's not. Those conditions are all related to the very Candida overgrowth. And I know there's a lot of people that say, that come in and that are very concerned, and that say, I have an ongoing kidney infection, I can't get rid of it, I'm on antibiotics routinely, and I have colds all the time, or I'm depressed, can't sleep, this is the third medication for sleep and I can't sleep. The idea is that all you need to do is to implement the very good culture bacteria to bring your body back to balance. And once you have done that, incorporate all the fermented foods that are needed, that are listed, and that we'll talk about. And once you do that, you will feel so much better. Intestinally, your stomach, all the conditions will go away. You know, I have actually talked to individuals where I have said what they needed to do, and within one day they call me back and they say, I don't know if it's all in my head, but I honestly feel so much better. I don't have the pain. I slept great. I can't believe that. Why didn't I think about that before? You know, and a lot of times when we talk about it is in our diet, all conditions, anything that you might have, that you are concerned about, that you're working with, it's all dietary. And when they say that let your food be your medicine, that's exactly true. The idea is that the reason why we are doing so poorly, and we continue to do so poorly, is because, and this is, it is said a lot, and sometimes people just turn and shake their heads. Yeah, I've heard about that. I already know about that. But the truth of the matter is that our food is completely, if not all, void. And the way that it's being cooked it is honestly, there is no nutrients in our food today. There just isn't. But then I see people that come in and they have it all together. They have just a few things that they need to do. However, they're working towards doing the very best because they don't want to, at the end, they're on their retirement age, to be sick. They want to be well so that they can enjoy that time of rest. You know, that is a time where we want to be able to do things and enjoy the grandkids and just be able to get out there and do things. And you don't want to get to that certain age after you've done all the work and then not be able to enjoy life after. So in today's program, the importance is that the cleansing, it's not where it's at. If you eat correctly and if you do the right foods at the right time, not combining them, separating them, and exercise, because when your body is acidic, when yeast and mold and bacteria and Candida is overtaking your system, your body now is less oxygen to cell, to blood, and no wonder depression sets in. There's not enough oxygen going through your system. So that's the reason why when we talk about the Chi machine, and I'm sure that you've seen it, it's on our website where we have therapeutic equipment, and the Chi machine is that. The Chi puts oxygen back into the system. And what it does is, for every time you do it, it actually implements and it puts oxygen, because the body knows where it needs it and where it's starving for it. So the body, when that machine stops, the oxygen travels and it goes right to the needed area. So if it's in your brain, if it's for your eyes, it will go there and it will heal. And you know, Alzheimer's and dementia and just fogginess and forgetfulness, those are all conditions that you know, they say that it's because of heavy metals, it's because of mercury, and yeah, that's true. However, it's the way you cook your food, but it's also lack of oxygen, but it's also an acid condition. It is yeast, Candida, it is fungus, it is mold. It's the toxins that are released from all those bacteria. And so the more you implement minerals, let's say, the more you eat raw foods, the more culture bacteria you take in, probiotics, the prebiotics, when you take enzymes, when you eat, so that you can process the food 100%, you get the best out of. Let's just say that you can't afford buying organic. It's okay. If you use the Miracle soap, the Miracle 2 regular soap to wash your veggies and rinse and then spray it with the neutralizer, which is 9.5, you have taken a non-organic to organic, because you have actually put the pH back into that food that it didn't have to start with. Because when the food, when the vegetables are grown in a pH soil, on a good pH soil, that is organic. However, by doing it this way, you guarantee that you have made that food organic. So the neutralizer is another way of being able to cleanse the system. The idea with the neutralizer is that it's a 9.5 pH. And somebody would say, you know what, I drink a lot of water. I don't need to do the neutralizer. Well, yes, you do. Because if you have an acid condition and you're drinking water, you're just moving that acid in your body all over the place, but not really changing the pH of that body. So the idea is by doing the neutralizer in the water and drinking it, you actually change and move that acid out of the system so that throughout the day, it's less and less acid that's sitting there multiplying. The idea is that the more you do that, there's going to be a time that you will check your pH and you will find out that you are more on the alkaline state. And the idea in pH is, most people say, well, I take my pH in the morning, I take it in the afternoon, and I take it later on in the evening. Well, you can't do that because pH matters. You take it in the morning before, when you get up, before you consume anything. It is actually the first morning's void, and that is a urine. That is how you check the intracellular. Now, on the very same day that you did the morning's pH in the morning, you want to do it the last thing at night, pH, which is the last night's void. Again, a urine test again. And those numbers, you end up putting them down and checking what they've been. Now, the idea is I usually tell folks to call me and let me know what those numbers were so that I can explain to them what it is that those numbers mean for them. And the idea is that if a number is a 5 in the morning and at night it's a 7, guess what? That means that whatever you have done through the course of that day, it actually brought you to an alkaline state from being an acid. However, if you end up being a 5 in the morning and at night you are a 5 again, that meant that whatever you consumed on that day did nothing in moving that pH to an alkaline state. So at the end of the day, you were no better than you were in the morning. So the idea is that condition yourself to understand exactly where you want to be on that bar. From 5 all the way to 9, we want to be right in the middle, and that's at 775. That is a good number. The longer we stay at that 6, 7 mark, 6 in the morning and let's say 7 in the evening, that is the best numbers. The more you remain in those numbers, the more healthy you become. Now, you don't get to those numbers right away, and let's say that you're sick and you are consuming everything that's great, but those numbers don't reach that 7 mark, and you're doing everything possible and nothing seems to shake. The idea is that depending on what years, how many years you did wrong, your body is continuously detoxifying. But however, it's detoxifying a little at a time. And that is what it's important. You don't want to do a cleanse to right away get rid of all the damage that you've done for 30 years, because it's unreasonable to think that that's going to happen, because it won't, because your tissues are holding a lot of toxins and a lot of waste and a lot of bacteria and germs and all that through the course of your years, depending on where you lived, the toxins in your home, the bacteria in your the products that you have used throughout the years, hairspray, hair color, sprays and shampoos, and all the toxins from different chemicals that you have used to clean your house, to clean windows, your car, and all that. Those are all chemicals that we have in our home that we use, and those are things that we breathe. And by using our hands, they go through our pores, and it affects our inner body. So that is where sometimes a person that has an autoimmune disorder, Parkinson's or MS, or they have seizures, or they have skin disorders, especially sores that won't heal, diabetics, and people that have chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. These are all conditions that surface due to the abusiveness of different things throughout your life. So The things that we try to do is, first of all, is to change how our diet. We have to change that. We also have to find out what it is that we're eating that's compromising our system. Also, we have to find out if we are allergic to certain food groups and work on that. And then the next thing is to be able to take in supplements that are going to help us to rebuild our system again. And that is, colostrum is one, and colostrum is the pre-milk substance that mothers give their newborn babies. And it is it's the nutrients that actually starts the immune system. It starts the baby to be strong and to be able to fight off all the different things that it's going to be facing throughout his or her years. Colostrum can be taken at any time. So if a person has arthritis, let's say, or if they have skin disorders, or if they have diabetes or chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, or if they have a lot of joint pain, or if they have muscle pain, colostrum is good in taking it because it brings the body to an alkaline state. It actually boosts up the immune system. It's got the amino acids that your body needs. It's got the growth hormones. So it's a very good start. For those people that started and they are taking products for arthritis, be it medication or be it over the counter, they start on the colostrum only to find out how much better they feel. They do less of the medication, and now they're strictly doing certain things that are actually that are better for their system and that don't compromise their system into being sicker or maybe creating more of an acid state. So colostrum is very good to do always. A lot of people will open up the capsules and put it in their protein drink. I have a lot of babies, a lot of moms that couldn't breastfeed, or maybe they adopted a baby and they need it, and the baby they can't nurse because they didn't give birth to the baby, but they can do colostrum and put it in their formula, and it will help that baby. It would be the same as if the mother was breastfeeding. So colostrum is good for newborns. It's good for babies. It's good for little older kids. For those that are compromised, that have a lot of issues, let's say with tonsils, or that have rashes, ongoing rashes, the colostrum will heal the skin beautifully. Also, it's an anti-aging product as well. It's good for anyone that has issues like, say, with hair, with skin, with nails, fungal issues, any compromised state. Colostrum is very good because it has all the growth hormones, and it's anti-aging, and it works on the immune system, and it's got all the proteins in it, full protein. So that's the colostrum. We also have we're going to be presenting some greens that we're bringing in next month. And the greens are, I didn't want to talk too much about that, but because we're going to do a show strictly on that. But know where you buy your greens. As of lately, we're finding out that a lot of the greens are not as good as what most people think. And so a lot of times if they're taking it, they're finding out that there is different chemicals in the greens, and some of them have lead. And so know who you buy your greens from, and make sure that that it's organic. And but anyway, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in our next show. The other thing is, don't mix your sugars, your fruits with your veggies. Make sure you do all your greens by themselves. Realize how well you feel after you do the greens in the morning, where it cleans your system. Make sure you put your neutralizer in the water for every glass of water you drink. You know, most people say, you know, I did the neutralizer in the water, and I don't want to do that too much, because they say, you know, it's like I put on a little weight. And you know why that happens? Because sometimes when people start doing the neutralizer and start increasing their water, they increase it too fast. And what happens is our bodies are like this. You didn't give it water for a long time. Now you have these minerals floating in there. And guess what? Minerals, when you take them, your body starts to neutralize. It uses those minerals to neutralize the acid present. It has to remain there a little long in order to do the cleansing and the job. So what happens? So if you just drink some water as opposed to, or the same amount of water that you've been drinking, but the only thing that you do different is by putting the drops in to the very amount of water. So if it's 2 glasses that you drink a day, then drink 2 glasses every day after. But the only change about it is that you put minerals in there. So that's good. Remain doing the very same thing that you were doing before. But let's say that you have never drank that much water ever. Start by doing a half a glass and then increase it to a glass. You're going to find out that the more you do that, the slower you do, the more your body will release the old, because you're giving it and you're not giving it so much all at once. The folks that they feel that retain the water are the same folks that drink so much because they get all gun-ho about it, and they drink 8 glasses when they've never drank 8 glasses ever. So the idea is start slow, and because the things that you do slow are the things, and changing are the things that stick, and the things that you will continue to do much later on. The other thing that we say too is digestive enzymes are important. And the idea with digestive enzymes is that if you don't eat enough raw foods, then you don't have enough enzymes to break down your food. And meaning the food that's more denser, like meats and proteins. By taking the enzymes, you are able to, for those that don't eat raw foods, taking the enzyme will then give you the very enzymes that you would be doing if you were eating the raw food. Because a salad with veggies is what breaks down that steak that you had, or maybe the stew, or maybe the chicken. Any meat product is protein that is dead. It's dead food. So by having some salad, veggies, steamed veggies with it, you actually now have a raw food that is it's full of enzymes to break down that particular food. Enzymes are very important. Let's just say that you carry your weight on the bottom. That means that you need an enzyme that's going to break down the fats. And that enzyme, protease, is in there. Let's just say that you are carbs. All you consume is carbs. And guess what? Amylase. The amylase is in there. And that is going to break down your carbs. For your sugars, for your dairy, for your proteins, it breaks down. There is an enzyme for every food group. Now, these are plant-derived, and the digestive enzymes, because they're plant-derived, you can take them on an empty stomach. You can take them and not eat a thing. You can actually take them in the middle of the meal, at the end, or in the beginning. You can take one at night. If you take one at night, it will actually help you in detoxifying and being able to go in the morning. Whereas if you ate a heavy meal and didn't consume the enzyme, the food would settle in your food, would sit there too long, and you wouldn't be able to go in the morning. Whereas if you keep the activity, enzymatic activity going on in the system, your food is being broken down while you sleep. And so the idea, all of us need the enzymes, every one of us, even those that eat raw foods. A lot of times people say, you know, I ate the salad, I saw it. It's like I'm not processing even the lettuce. So that means that your enzyme, you're deficient. You need the enzymes. So the idea is to get the full nutrition out of your food, whatever it may be. Guess what? By taking the enzymes, you guarantee that. And it's great for our children. Our children, they eat so poorly, they need enzymes. And you can feel the activity that happens, and they will feel better just because of it. The idea is that in helping your body to detoxify, you want to do it with food. You want to be able to consume, to cleanse, to nourish, to feed your body, but you want the food that you consume to heal, to cleanse, and to feed and to nourish every part of you. It'll feed the brain, the eyes, it'll feed the heart, build up the blood, oxygenate the body, because the raw foods give you oxygen as well. I want to say one thing. We have a machine that's called the e-Power. That machine, I've had some people that have come in, and there was a particular lady that she had done everything. Has done everything. She has an array of different things, and she couldn't get better. It's like every time I see her, she's worse. And but I will tell you that and I've had more and more people come in a very, very sickly way, and where they seem like whatever they do, it doesn't apply. And I think for folks that are very ill, that their bodies are not responding to the things that they're giving, be it whatever, food, supplement, medication, whatever, they need to step it up. They need to be able to have a device that this e-Power, it's the negative charge that when you belt it on, it actually stimulates the cell to be able to respond, to heal, so that in response, it sort of triggers the cell to it just charges it so that it wakes up and it starts working better. It takes the nutrients better, the response is better, and it starts to, because we need healthy cells. And if the cells aren't taking in the nutrients, but if the cells aren't releasing the bad, then it's just housing more and more of the bad, the response won't be there. The e-Power machine stimulates the very cells so that the body now can heal and take in the best of what is being given. So that machine is a device that it's about, and we talked about it in one of the programs, it's about this size, and it has a belt, and all you do, it has a frequency to it, a negative charge frequency, and it has a low, medium, and high level, and you can sleep with it, and you can have it on for like 90 minutes, and it'll turn off, and then you can do it again. But it actually moves, it stimulates every part, plus it allows the toxins and the lymphatic to be charged and drained so that the body can work better. We're going to also talk about clay. I'm leaving clay for the last because clay is like the very principle along with the digestive health, but I'm going to talk about this one first. The red clay is actually, it carries, it's small particle clay. It's edible clay. It actually is, it has a high negative charge. The clay tends to, it works like a little magnet. And the particles of the clay, what it does is it surfaces, it cleans, it buffers. It actually buffers the bones. It cleans all the organs. Wherever acid is, wherever fungus, mold, bacteria is, the clay attaches itself to it. And what it does, it stays there and it dissolves it and it buffers that, so that with the water you drink with the neutralizer, then it washes away. You do it again, the clay sticks again and it starts to buffer again. It actually strengthens your bones. A lot of times when your count of calcium is too high and the doctor tells you don't take any more calcium, you're creating kidney stones, it's due to the fact that you're consuming the wrong calcium. The other thing is that you're not absorbing the calcium because there is too much acid stuck to the bones, and so the calcium isn't being absorbed to bone. And so a lot of the particles are remaining there, causing you maybe a cyst or a tumor future, and stones, gallstones and liver stones and kidney stones. So the idea is the clay, what it does is ongoing, a 2-pound canister of clay will last you for 2.5 to 3 years, depending on how many people are having it. And also it depends on how much of it you're consuming. I normally tell people to do 1/4 teaspoon 3 times a day, only because in remaining and staying with small doses, it actually does more cleansing. But you don't want the clay to remain in your body too long, because you want it to cleanse, to pick up all the debris and all the acid and the bacteria. But you want it to leave the body. You don't want it to keep staying there, because the longer it stays there, then it causes other issues. It makes you a little sick. It makes you a little constipated. So the idea is that in taking small doses, maintaining, staying with that amount, you will find out that none of those issues will happen. And you will find out that bleeding, the gum line, if you have bleeding gums, if you have receding, if you have gingivitis, if you have weak teeth and sensitivity, by doing and brushing with clay, you're going to find out that all that will be history. That too is acid, and dry mouth is acid also. The idea is that when you have acid buildup, when you have Candida, those things, it's like one thing leads to another and it leads to another, and it's like you're rotting internal with all these things that are going on. The idea is do greens, do the clay. The clay can be done in many different ways. You can brush your teeth with it, you can drink it, you can do a facial mask, you can actually put it on a wound, you can, if you have artificial nails and you want to undo those, you can put the clay on the nail bed and resurface it so that your nails get better. If you have fungal toenails, you can actually do the same, because it will actually kill away all the fungus that's in those areas. So the clay is very good that way. There's many applications. It is something that in brushing your teeth, it brightens your teeth. It actually, the dry mouth goes away because it's high mineral. And the other thing with dry mouth is by doing the neutralizer gel, putting the clay on the brush and brushing your teeth, and then after you've done that, brush your tongue, spit it out, rinse, and then do the gel and put it on your teeth and on your tongue, the gel. you're going to find out that the dry mouth will be a thing of the past. So these are just little tips on the very products that will bring your body more to a better acid-free, Candida-free body. And the more and more you continue to do this, the better and better you're going to feel. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is the pH miracle. The reason why we said that is because the products that we carry are +2, and they have a lot more minerals than your standard product. So by doing the soaps and also doing the neutralizer, you have to realize that when you start detoxifying internal, know that as you do the perspiration, everything is moved over to the skin, and so we end up sweating. But what remains on the skin is, and why we end up acidic in our joints and also in our skin, on our muscle tissue, is because as we sweat, everything settles in that lining. And if and when we sweat it out and it remains on the skin for a little period of time, it actually creates a rash or acne, or and so what we want to do is we want to use a soap that is going to be a pH, higher pH, to be able to normalize our skin back and rid of. You know, a lot of people say, I itch and I can't seem to scratch enough. By doing and soaking with the neutralizer and soap, you're going to find out that you cleanse good, and your skin feels nice, and you're free from all, maybe if you have brown spots, if you have age spots, if you have moles, if you have a burn, if you have a rash, whatever problems you have with your skin, by using the soap and neutralizer, you're going to find how all those things will go away. But the topper is that if after you bathe, soak, rinse, get out, pad dry, now you end up using the neutralizer gel on the skin, you bring the skin back to a normal pH, the skin's pH, which is 5.5, and by doing so, you actually now, your skin will heal quicker. And all the things that are happening to the skin will all, on a day-to-day basis, will start to heal, and it will normalize to a better state. And also, if you go out in the sun, if you're out in Arizona or if you're out in Florida and you're used to putting all this SP15 and 30 and 45 that causes the very skin melanoma that everyone is suffering from these days, that are very fair skin, guess what? By doing the neutralizer gel, it's chemically free, it's pH 9.5. By putting it on the skin, you smooth out the skin, any mold, any brown spots, any varicose veins. You don't have to worry about any skin melanoma. It is the nicest gel, smooth. And now what you do after that is you top it off with the coconut, avocado, apricot, vitamin E lotion, which is scent-free, it's chemically free. You put it on, the body takes it in, it's got all the omega fats, it is pleasant to the skin. If you have allergies, you don't have to worry because it's scent-free, and so it's the best for even babies. And I would venture to say that babies, all the products that are out in the market, which I'm not going to say the name, but all the baby products that are in the market are all scented and they're all chemical based, and some children can't do it. Even the wipes they can't do. These you don't have to worry about. These products are all chemically free, scented free. If you have allergies of any sort, you don't have to worry. Even for those that don't like coconut, even for those that feel that they don't like the smell of coconut, you don't have to worry because there is no scent. And when you apply it, you can, there's no scent of coconut. It is like fragrance, totally free. So, so it's a nice product, and it'll bring your skin and all these problems that, for those that are having these problems, will all go away. Lastly, I want to talk about GCF. And GCF is actually an enzyme that there's a lot of people that are concerned about gluten, and we've had the GCF for quite some time. And so when folks come in and they say that they have gluten intolerances, I often say that we do have it, and they can get it, and it's a product that helps them in being able to break down the intolerances. So a lot of times, if you still want to have the bread, or if you feel like you want to have pasta, you know, you can have it. All you have to do is take an enzyme that actually breaks the casing of that particular food group to be able to not to be a burden to your body, but by incorporating the GCF, it actually helps you in breaking down that food so that food doesn't become a poison to your system, because that is like putting the wrong gasoline in your car. That's the same way as somebody that's intolerant to a certain food. It's the same thing. It's putting the wrong food in your system, putting the wrong gasoline in your car. So by doing that, this breaks down the food group of wheat across the board. All you have to do is take one in the morning to guarantee, just in case you run into some difficulties throughout the day, you already have taken it, and take one at night, just so that you end up building and multiplying the very enzymes that you need in breaking down your food. I want to address that a lot of the things that we talk about tonight are things that will change the way you live, and realize that in doing what you've been doing is not sustainable. It's not something that's going to change. You're going to always go back to the very same thing. Realize that changing is to change a little at a time and do the very same thing in cleansing and eating the right foods, because that is what's needed to detoxify, to cleanse, and to neutralize, and to nourish. Thank you so much.